Democratic strategist James Carville has a pretty extreme agenda, I would say, for his party, starting with hacking the Supreme Court.
This is the lowest the Supreme Court has been rated. I think the way to cure that very quickly is expand it to 13 and get some balance on the court.
President Biden did not do that, but James Carville would like to. He also wants to bring 2 more states into the union.
The Democrats are going to have to move to admit the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico states, because right now, because we're 18% of the United States elects 52 senators.
So pack the court, create 2 new states. Well, how's he going to do it? You would need 60 votes, and you're not going to have 60 votes in the Senate. That's just not the way the country's made up. Are you going to eliminate the filibuster?
I would carve out for those 2 things, yes.
I wonder what my next guest thinks of all that. Democratic Senator John Fetterman is here. Senator Fetterman, is that the agenda for the Democratic Party? Should you pack the court, add 2 states, eliminate part of the filibuster?
Yeah, well, when I ran for the Senate back in the 21-22, I rejected those things. I strongly rejected trying to pack the Supreme Court or to change those things. You know, we were the Democrats. It's like, you know, you don't change the rules if you didn't win. It's like win more elections, and then you are able to change those dynamics the way it was designed to be in the Constitution right now. So I strongly reject that.
I'm wondering what you think of President Trump's proposal. He has these tariff dividends he wants to do. So $2,000 of tariff revenue directly to the American people. And then separately from that on health care, he wants the money to go directly to the American people and not to insurance companies. What do you think of those 2 proposals?
Well, when I heard that, I immediately, actually, was something that one of your colleagues said, Brett Barry said, isn't that be concerned for inflation? So right now, so if you have those kinds of money, I think you should put it against the debt. I'm deeply, deeply concerned about the debt. It's $38 trillion. So one of those things, I think it's entirely appropriate to use that for something like maybe paying down the debt thing. And I fully support making healthcare more affordable, how that ever happens. But now that's why we had to negotiate with the Republicans and the Democrats. And that's why we should not shut our government down, as I was very much a part of refusing to shut our government down.
Yeah, so you want that tariff revenue to go towards the debt. It is $2 trillion. That's a lot of money that President Trump has brought in. I also want to ask you about this. There was a vote yesterday, and I realize it's not the Senate, but it was in the House, and it was a vote to condemn socialism. And the count that we saw there was 285 to 98 to 2 who voted president. So 47% of the Democratic caucus voted against condemning socialism. I'm curious on your thoughts, because that's a big, 47% is a big swath of the House, a big swath of Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, go to any place that live or have lived under socialism, 100% would vote to condemn it. I've spoke to people when I've been in those kind of former countries, and they say it's a disaster, and they can't believe America's even having this conversation. You know, there's that expression, you know, bad ideas just won't die. And I don't know why our party's going to talk about it for these things, but I would strongly reject it. And obviously, I would have voted to condemn that if that was ever part in the Senate.
And I want to get to your book, but I do want to quickly ask this. Your reflections on Mamdani and Trump. I saw before the meeting you said it's a good thing to sit down and talk. They had a really cordial exchange.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I sat down and I had dinner with the president, and I said it's pretty reasonable to do those kinds of things. And a lot of Democrats criticized that. And now the socialists now have signed off, and now they say they defend that. And of course, I think it's perfectly reasonable to do that. But now a lot of Dems criticize me for doing that, but I can't, not a single Democrat that's going to criticize that socialist. And now also the New York Times, now they went after Bill Maher for doing that. And they published that trash about having dinner with Hitler kind of a thing. And now he's designing this. He's describing this as, oh, it's just 2 dudes from Queens. And now that thing. So it's like a weird double standard now. I think it's perfectly normal to have a conversation with the president, whether you're mayor of New York or whether you're a United States senator or any of those things. But now suddenly it's now okay.
Yeah. You know, here's one of the things. My dad is a bone-ribbed conservative. But he said to me, what I love about John Fetterman is he is a man who refuses to hate. He does not hate. He doesn't use the hateful rhetoric. And I was reading your book yesterday, Unfettered, and I found a passage that made me sad, but I think it simultaneously explains why you're a man who refuses to hate. And I want to put it on the screen. Imagine a little boy at odds with himself, awkward, shy, painfully self-conscious. Imagine that little boy dreading the lunchroom at school, the hierarchical order of jocks over here, freaks over there, and nerds in a self-protective circle, and that little boy finding himself in a corner by himself himself, fleeing into the cocoon of the library where no one would notice him, where he could read his USA Today. I think that little boy was you that you described, and I'm curious if that animates your posture in the political scene, because you are someone who refuses to hate.
Yeah, no, I mean, the way you described your father, it's like I would describe my father that same way. It's as a conservative, and he's probably watching this right now. They're big Fox fans. I just, can't call people these kinds of extreme things, and I refuse to do that. I mean, right now, especially after what happened with the president last year, or what happened with Charlie Kirk, or all these things, like we really have to turn the temperature down. And now, so for me, I just refuse to be a part of that fake outrage or to call those kinds of names. Otherwise, we continue to cheapen our language and use those kind of terms. That should only be reserved. I mean, don't ever compare anyone to Hitler, or don't ever use those kind of terms and compare a political opponent as a Nazi or fascist, because that is just absolutely not the case.
Indeed. And my dad said last night at our dinner we had after the Christmas tree lighting, he said, John Fetterman, he's someone who I wish was at this dinner table. I like that guy. So thank you, Senator Fetterman.
Oh, well, yeah. Thank you. And have me back. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome. We'll have you at a Mac and